ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते So today we will be discussing another wonderful life. He was the saint about whom we will discuss was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna himself. So we can easily guess that his life was completely devoted for humankind, and it was a perfect example of devotion, meditation, as well as great scholarship. So Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, many of them represented one specific quality of his, like Swami Vimohananda or Gangadhar Maharaj was a veritable, manifestation of how to serve God in man, and Swami Subodhananda was simplicity itself. That simplicity of Sri Ramakrishna he demonstrated before us. So Swami Ramakrishnananda, about whom we will discuss today, his speciality was ritualistic worship, what we call puja. So it is as if Sri Ramakrishna, through him, conveyed to us how God can be realized even through ritualistic worship. While worshipping, while doing arti, how actually one can feel the presence of God. So this was a very unique characteristic of Swami Ramakrishnananda. So there is a lot to discuss. So without wasting time, let us start. So of course, as usual, I'll be sharing many photographs with you. So I will start with the first available photograph of Shashi Maharaj. This was in the very early days in Badanagar Mutt. So Shashi Maharaj, as he is called in the Ramakrishna order, his full name was Shashi Bhushan Chakravarti, born very early morning on 13 July 1863 in Ichhapur. Ichhapur is a village in the Hooghly district of Bengal, and now we have a Ramakrishna Mission Center there, big center, birthplace of Shashi Maharaj. That way it was specially sought for. His father, Ishwar Chandra Chakravarti, was a court pandit of one Raja, and he was very well versed in the Tantra scriptures and disciplines, his father. And he was a very great devotee of the Divine Mother Kali. So Shashi had that advantage that his father was a very great devotee, and he would practice sadhana at night in the cremation ground, which is considered to be an auspicious place for tantric sadhana. And it is said that one night he actually had the vision of the Divine Mother in the form of a little girl. And his wife Shashi's mother, Bhava Sundari Devi, was a very guileless and pious lady, So Shashi was brought up in spiritual surroundings by his orthodox Brahmin parents. And Ishwar Chandra, his father, worshipped his family deities daily and performed an elaborate Kali worship once a year. So Shashi learnt ritualistic worship from his own father. And even when young, during Durga Puja, Shashi would perform the worship service, all the rituals, japam, meditation, chanting. Even at that young age, he could do that 24 hours, sitting at one seat without getting up, even when he was a boy. So we note that only physical discipline cannot account for such a feat of endurance. His tremendous willpower and deep spiritual absorption were evident from this wonderful feat which he could perform. So first he went to his village school. This is that school as it is today. Of course, in those days it was completely different. So his education in village school finished, Shashi went to Calcutta for higher English education. And in Calcutta he lived with his cousin Sharat, that is Swami Saradananda, another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So Saradananda and Ramakrishnananda were contemporaries. And Shashi passed the Calcutta University entrance exam and he was a brilliant student. So he won a scholarship and then he entered the Vidyasagar College. Vidyasagar College you can see. So Shashi had a wonderful academic record in college and his special subjects of study were Sanskrit and English literature, mathematics and philosophy. And during their college days, both Sharat and Shashi became members of the Brahmo Samaj. And they were inspired by the lectures of the great Keshav Chandra Sen. You can see the photo. So Shashi and his young friends first heard about Sri Ramakrishna from Keshav only, who spoke very highly of him. So the young boys thought, if Keshav Chandra Sen, such a great person, he shows such reverence for Sri Ramakrishna, then there must be something extraordinary in that man. So they thought of going to meet Sri Ramakrishna. And Shashi later said, it was really Keshav Chandra Sen who may be said to have discovered Sri Ramakrishna and made him known to the world. At that time, Keshav was the most prominent figure in Calcutta. His church was always crowded and many young men were his ardent admirers. It was indeed impossible not to be moved by him. This Shashi Maharaj is saying, just imagine. He was a really great soul and a true devotee. So Shashi now was very restless because he was hankering for some spiritual experience. Keshav inspired these people, but Keshav could not give them what they wanted. So Shashi and Sharat, one day in October 1883, with some of their friends, went to Dakshineshwar. Dakshineshwar temple garden to meet Sri Ramakrishna. And they found the master seated on a small couch. So he received the boys with a smile and asked them to sit on a mat. He then asked them their names, etc., and was very pleased to know they belonged to Keshav's Brahmo Samaj. So at the very first sight, Sri Ramakrishna recognized them to be their own. So Sri Ramakrishna asked Shashi that whether he believed in God with form or without form. So Shashi said, I am not even certain about the existence of God. So how can I speak either one way or other? So the master was pleased with this simple reply, and when they were going, he told them, come again and come alone this time. Yeah. So after the first meeting, of course, Shashi felt a tremendous attraction for Sri Ramakrishna and began to visit him frequently. He said, after I had listened to the master, I had nothing more to say. I didn't have to talk. Often I would go to him with my mind full of doubts, which I wished him to clear away. But when I reached the temple, I would find his room full of people and would feel very disappointed because he could not openly ask. But as soon as he saw me, he would say, come in, sit down. Then he would return to his subject, but invariably he would take up the very doubt that had been troubling my mind and could clear it completely without saying anything. Shashi did not have to say anything. So, as we have said that Sri Ramakrishna immediately realized that Shashi and Sharat were his very own, and on 23rd December 1885 he said to M, when God assumes a human body, many of his devotees accompany him to this earth. The Divine Mother revealed to me the nature of each devotee before their coming. In a vision, I saw that Shashi and Sharat had been the companions of Jesus Christ. Yeah. They had come when Christ had come. So gradually Shashi became acquainted with our great Swamiji, Narendranath as he was called, and other disciples of the Master. So one day Shashi and Sharat visited Narendra in his home and talked about the Master for many hours. So they found that Narendra had understood the Master much better. He told them, Swamiji told them, Sri Ramakrishna is bestowing love, devotion, divine knowledge and liberation, and whatever else one may desire on whomsoever he likes. Oh, what a wonderful power. He can do anything he likes. So this started their connection with the Master and his devotees. And Sundays was a busy day for the Master because many came to him. But on other days, he was left alone with his close chosen ones. Not everyone could stay with the Master at night, only those whom he chose to have, so that he could mold their lives. Sometimes the Master would wake at 4 in the morning and he would call the disciples who were sleeping in his room, telling, what are you doing? Snoring. Get up, sit down and start meditating. Sometimes he would wake up at midnight and call them and make them spend the whole night in spiritual practices. So all these Shashi also underwent. And they were very young. All the disciples were just 16, 17. And the Master played with them as if they were little children. So he was very fun-loving and was once discovered near the Panchavati one day by a visitor. He may have come at that time. So he saw that he was playing with the boys a game of leapfrog. And sometimes he would send them into peals of laughter by his mimicry. Then again he would become grave and wake them long before the dawn and make them sit in meditation. Again, in the evening, he would go and tell them, go to the banyan tree and meditate. So, for almost 2 years, Shashi had the wonderful opportunity of visiting the master at Dakshineshwar. So, he attained great spiritual treasures from him. But we know that in the middle of 1885, Sri Ramakrishna developed throat cancer, and the devotees arranged for his treatment at Shampukur, Calcutta. So this is Shampukur. Master had to leave Dakshineshwar and go. Holy Mother took the responsibility of cooking for the master there, and disciples began to serve him under Narendra's leadership. Shashi would eat at home, then he would come at night and stay here. He was actually then preparing for his BA examination, and his parents had great expectation. He was a brilliant student. But now, when Sri Ramakrishna became ill, Shashi was being torn apart. What to do? Should he serve his guru, or should he build his career through studies? So, we know what he selected. He selected the first one. He stopped going home, gave up his studies, and became a full-time attendant of the master. So once an old neighbor asked Shashi, worldly people means first the world, then the guru. So they said, you can serve your guru even after your examination. What is the hurry? You give your examination. So Shashi said, sir, can you guarantee that I will not die before my exam? If I die before my exam, how can I serve my guru? So his father also begged him to return home. But Shashi said, for me the world and home are both like a place infested with tigers. I cannot come. Yeah. So his father was a great tantric. Yeah, he even used a mantram to try to get Shashi. But when Sri Ramakrishna is there, no mantram is of any use. Yeah. So now, after this, the doctors advised the devotees to move Sri Ramakrishna from the polluted atmosphere of Calcutta to Kashipur, better place. So this is Kashipur, we all know. So Kashipur Garden House, master was taken there on 11th December 1885. Shashi, of course, accompanied him. All the disciples were embodiments of service, but Shashi's devotion was special. To him, service to the Guru was the highest form of religion. He travelled to no other place, forgetting his personal comfort, food or rest. He was always ready to serve the master. So another event occurred, just to mention that in January 1886, the elder Gopal means Swami Advaitananda, he wanted to distribute 12 pieces of Gerua cloth and rosaries to monks. So master told him, where will you go to find monks? Can you find any better monks? Narendra, Rakhal, Shashi, Sharad. So Gopal offered them to the master, and master himself distributed them among his young disciples. Sri Ramakrishna himself gave them Gerua. So he himself founded this monastic order. Now just a few incidents of Shashi's service to the master. One of them is actually a kind of miraculous incident. Shashi knew that the master was fond of ice. So once from Calcutta he bought a big piece of ice, carefully wrapped it with paper and then with a towel. And then he walked 6 miles from Calcutta to Dakshineshwar with that ice. It was a hot summer day, and the scorching sun, it gave blisters in his body. So the master, when he saw him, he said, "Oh," as if master was feeling the pain. So when Shashi asked him, "Why are you telling this?" Sri Ramakrishna looked at Shashi, and it was as if the master's body also began to burn because Shashi was feeling so uncomfortable. So the master was overwhelmed by Shashi's love, and the miracle was that 6 miles in that heat he walked, but the eyes did not meet. Yeah. This sounds unbelievable, but this happened. Yeah. Shashi's life, so you see, was a glowing example of this dasya bhava, that is, worshipping God as his servant. He forgot hunger and thirst, sleep and rest, and even his own body. Sometimes Shashi would fan the master non-stop for hours. So those who have tried to fan know, after 10-15 minutes, the hand will not move. But he would go for hours. And Ramakrishna had to say that, "Okay, I am all right now, you go and eat. I don't need now." So that is why towards the end of his life, Sri Ramakrishna would tell to Shashi, "Look, you boys have tied me down with your love. If you let me go, then only I can go." It was time for him to go, unfortunately. So the body cannot be eternal, we all know. So on 16th August 1886, Sri Ramakrishna passed away, leaving all his disciples very sad. So this is another photograph of Swami Ramakrishnananda, you can see. So Shashi was there when Sri Ramakrishna left the body, and we have some accounts of the masters passing away, detailed accounts. So one of them is from Shashi Maharaj. This is the room in which Sri Ramakrishna stayed at Kashipur. So everything happened here, masters passing away and all that. So Shashi told a great deal. We cannot discuss all that, just short portion I will quote. What happened? Suddenly at 1 o'clock, that is at night, master fell towards one side. There was a low sound in his throat. I saw all the hairs of his body stand on end. Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, was rubbing his feet at that time, but he could not see the master in such conditions. So Narendra ran downstairs. A doctor was there, a great devotee, who was feeling the master's pulse. So he began to weep. He could find no pulse. So Shashi became angry. "What do you mean? How can the master go away? So why are you weeping like this? The master is just gone into samadhi. He will come back." So everybody, it was more than, hope against hope. They all thought it is just samadhi. So Naren came back, Swamiji came back, and they all sat down, and 20 people began to repeat Hari Om so that the master could come down. For 24 hours around they tried, or maybe 12 hours, because it is only written 1 and 2. So it may be 1 and 2 in the afternoon also. Till then the body had some heat. So they were optimistic. But the doctor said no, there is no hope. So 5 o'clock the body grew absolutely cold. So it was placed on a cot covered with garlands and carried to the burning ghat. So this was Sri Ramakrishna's passing away. And what is that burning ghat? That burning ghat is at Kashipur itself, just opposite Belur Math. From Belur Math actually you can see that place. So Ramakrishna, of course, needless to say, the master's samadhi is there, and this is the photograph of that So you can read there, Shri Ramakrishna Paramahansa Dev Samadhi Prangan, Kashipur. And that pink building you see, that is the Master's Samadhi. Yeah, it is still, today it is like this. Of course, I have also gone there. So it was hard for Shashi to believe that the Master had actually left his physical body. With tearful eyes, he sat near the funeral pyre. Sharat and Naren sought to console him. Latu took him by the hand and tried to lift his spirits, but Shashi was so shocked that he couldn't move. Of course, in the end, Shashi collected the ashes and bones of the Master and put them in an urn. So, some portions of the Master relics Ramchandra Datta took, and now it is in Kapurgachi Yugodhyan, but the major part is in Belur Math. So that is a different story. So Shashi and many other young disciples had to return home, because where would they stay? The Kashipur garden was taken on a lease by the devotees. Now the Master was no longer there. So his parents were very happy, but of course that happiness was short-lived. Thanks to Sri Ramakrishna, he made many parents miserable. So one day Surendranath Mitra, when he was meditating, this is Surendranath Mitra, Sri Ramakrishna appeared before him. Well, what are you doing? My children are roaming about here and there without a home. You leave everything and go. So see, even after passing away, so Sri Ramakrishna has not gone anywhere, So then Surendranath Mitra went to Naren. He said, I will gladly pay for, you take some house on rent, I will gladly pay. So that house was the first monastery of the Ramakrishna order, Baranagar Mutt. Yeah, dilapidated, haunted. So it was an abandoned place infested with snakes. The ground floor was dark and damp. Actually, Shashi was once bitten by a snake there. Yeah. So in the ground floor, they could not do anything. So the Master's relics were placed on the second floor. The shrine was there, and a picture of the Master was placed on the altar. The articles used by the Master were also preserved in the shrine, and Shashi kept the memory of the Master ablaze by his wholehearted dedication and service. So from 1886 to 1897, 11 years, Shashi was constantly there. He never went to any other pilgrimage or anything. And he performed the Master's worship as one serves a living human being. Everything he would do, he would pick flowers, wipe the shrine, wash the vessels, make the arrangements for the worship. In the evening, he would go to the market to buy groceries. And of course, there was his wonderful aarti every evening. He did aarti of the Master in such a wonderful way. So Swami Vimohananda, he was a disciple of Holy Mother. He was one of the first to join the Baranagar Mutt apart from the disciples of Master. He was barely 15, 16 at that time. So he was there when Shashi Maharaj would do Aarti. And he has left a wonderful reminiscence. I quote him, "Oh, how wonderful was the Aarti of Shashi Maharaj. It was really a sight for the gods. Enveloped within the smoke of burning incense and drowned in the music of drums and cymbals, he would wave the chamar at the end of the Aarti. Hmm. And completely intoxicated with God consciousness, he would repeat, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, in a crescendo of divine abandon, and would dance from one side of the hall to the other, rhythmically pacing the floor. What a unique feeling of ecstatic love would course through the hearts of men witnessing it can better be imagined than described. The whole building would be in a tremor. With a heavenly glow on his face, he looked the very embodiment of the god of fire. The hand of the drummer would become numb. How much can you play? And would refuse to move. The spectators would watch from the adjoining room and join him, all repeating in chorus, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, and they would also dance in divine fervor. Then all would prostrate themselves before the deity and recite the verse from the Guru Gita. I bow down to the Guru who by the collyrium of divine knowledge has opened my eyes. That sloka, Jnananjana Shalakaya. So this was the wonderful atmosphere created in Baranagar Mutt. And of course, Shashi was there when they took sannyasa at Artpur. This is the Artpur. We have ashrama there. So there, if in the photograph you see closely, you will see all the names written on the marble slab. You can see. So those are the names of the disciples who took sannyasa there. They performed the Virija Homa, and they were given names. All the disciples of the master was not there. Some, like Swami Vimohananda, they had to come later. So in Baranagar was an extremely tough time. Here you can see what terrible condition they were in. Hardly anything to wear, hardly anything to eat. So disciples faced hunger, poverty and persecution also. And they survived on a most meager food, had very little clothing. They slept on the floor under one big mosquito curtain. But Shashi Maharaj was there, and he even worked as a teacher in the Baranagar High School for 2 hours daily, so that he could support the monastery. And the young monks would daily go out for bhiksha, and many would taunt also. Oh, you people don't want to work, you just want to eat free. All that was there. So of course that is a different story. We can discuss. This independent discussion is needed for Baranagar Mutt life. But the thing we want to concentrate on is Shashi Maharaj. So Vivekananda later recalled, oh, what steadfastness to the ideal did we find in Shashi. He was like a mother to us. It was he who managed our food. We used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Then all of us would be lost in meditation. There were times when the meditation lasted till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just imagine. And when we got up, Shashi would be waiting with our dinner. And sometimes if they did not get up, Shashi would catch hold of them and force them. And thrust food in their mouths. So Swamiji says, who cared then whether the world existed or not? They were completely lost in meditation and samadhi. So, beginning in 1887, some of the master's disciples began to travel as itinerant monks. You can see another photograph of Shashi Maharaj here. They practiced austerities in the Himalayas and other places. And they went out, but Swami Ramakrishnananda never went out. To serve the master was his greatest pilgrimage. In 1892, the Ramakrishna monastery was moved from Baranagar to Alam Bazar. And there also Shashi Maharaj set up the shrine and he followed the same routine. So he carried this same service of the master till an event occurred. What was that? In September 1893, Swamiji returned from Chicago. We know that he had fantastic success. And in 1894, the disciples and devotees arranged the birth anniversary of Sri Ramakrishna on a grand scale in Dakshineshwar. Swamiji actually asked Shashi Maharaj to go to the west. Shashi Maharaj agreed, but the doctors advised him. He had some problem with the skin, so they said the cold climate of the west would not suit him. So Shashi Maharaj again began his usual work in the monastery. So while returning from America in January 1897, Swami Vivekananda stopped at Colombo in Sri Lanka and also visited some important cities in southern India. In Madras, he stayed at Castle Kernan, which is the ice house, for 9 days. This is the ice house. So now you can see the notice there, Sri Ramakrishna Mutt, Vivekananda House. It has been acquired by the Ramakrishna Mission now. This is very recent, just a few years ago. Yeah. So naturally, we did this because Swami Vivekananda stayed there. So Swami Vivekananda created great enthusiasm among the people in Madras, and they asked him to set up a monastery in Madras and send one of his brother disciples. So what Swamiji said, just see. He said, okay, to Madras devotees he said, I will send you someone who is more orthodox than your most orthodox Brahmins of the south, and who at the same time is incomparable in performing worship, in scriptural knowledge and meditation on God. And he sent Swami Ramakrishnananda, as we know. So before going to Darjeeling in 1897, Swamiji asked Ramakrishnananda, I have promised the devotees I will send someone. So you are to go to Madras and found a monastery there in the name of our master. So Shashi Maharaj, he hated to be away from the master's relics, but he did not even say one word. Leader has commanded. That's all. Immediately he left for Madras. So this is another beautiful photo of the ice house. Actually, Shashi Maharaj in the beginning he stayed here. So he immediately left for Madras with Swami Sadananda, disciple of Swamiji, and arrived there in April. So Biligiri Iyengar, a prominent lawyer and owner of this ice house, he offered the first floor to Swami Ramakrishnananda to stay there and start his work. So Shashi Maharaj set up the shrine first of all and began to conduct worship. In addition, he started to give classes on the Upanishads, Gita and Bhagavata. When he was the most busy, at one time, he had to give 11 lectures in 1 week. Actually, that was the cause of his passing away very early, and we will see later. So, and just 1 or 2 incidents I will mention. There are many incidents in his Madras stay. So, one incident which shows that what is Karma Yoga actually, completely unattached work. Especially it is very, very educative for people who have been sent to the West only for preaching work. We can learn a lot from this. So once Swami recalled Swami Shankarananda afterwards became the president of the Ramakrishna order. So he was there. He said, one afternoon it was drizzling. Sky was overcast with clouds. A carriage came to take Shashi Maharaj to one of the classes. The carriage arrived in Georgetown, where the Swami used to hold one of his classes. Because the weather was bad, there was no one in the room. I know, because I have had to face this in Vancouver also, when nobody of you come because of the bad weather. Swami waited for about 15 minutes. No one came. He then opened the Upanishad with all his fervor, as he used to do when people were present. He gave the full lecture and then told the brahmachari who came with him, okay, now let us go. So brahmachari, on the way, he asked, there was nobody. To whom did you give the lecture to? So Shashi Maharaj said, I have not come to teach anybody. Swamiji has given me this duty. This is my vow. This is my karma yoga. I have to do this because he must, because these people, they do everything for God. So it is not surprising if he had actually realized that God was actually listening to him. In one of another disciple, Swami Trigunatita, there is this incident which he himself said that while lecturing he had the vision of God. That is a wonderful incident. Anyway, so like all pioneers, Shashi Maharaj had to face tremendous difficulties. He received very little help because there were very little devotees. He lived alone for most of the first few years. There was nobody to help him. So here you can see another photograph of Shashi Maharaj. He had to perform the worship, give classes, cook, do all the household duties. In addition, he was trying to inspire and train some young people. Practically no money. So he had to take a debt, a loan. So how to repay? Then he was a great scholar. So he went to a publisher of the Upanishads in Madras. He said, I will translate the Upanishads for you if you help me financially for the mutt. So the publisher was a very, very noble soul. When he saw this, he himself gave a sum every month to Shashi Maharaj so that he would not starve at least. And the Raja of Ramnath also began to send money. So at least the monastery didn't have to shut down. This is another photograph of Shashi Maharaj. So Swamiji returned from the West in December 1900. In 1901, Shashi Maharaj visited Calcutta. He wanted to see Swamiji. So he met Swamiji there. This is very old photograph of Belur Math. You can see that and there is no embankment also. So Swamiji's house, Swamiji's room you can see there. Yeah. So this must have been the condition when Shashi Maharaj came, and needless to say, Shashi Maharaj was very happy to see that Belur Math was now where the master had been placed. So after enjoying his stay there, on in the middle of 1902, Shashi Maharaj returned to southern India with Swami Paramananda, who was also called Basanta Maharaj, who had been initiated by Swamiji. This is Swami Paramananda. So Swami Paramananda spent many years in America. Actually, as far as I remember, he also passed away in America. So he was the companion of Shashi Maharaj then. Now Shashi Maharaj returned to his place in 1901, and we all know what happened in 1902, 4th of July. So Shashi Maharaj had a vision. He called one of the monks who was with him. He said, I saw Swamiji standing before me, and he said to me, Shashi, I have thrown away this body like someone spits out something. So Shashi Maharaj could not know what is happening, why this vision, why Swamiji is telling that I have spat out the body. So he was so anxious he could not sleep at night, and the next day they received a cable with the sad news of Swamiji's passing away. He had given up his body. So, of course, they were very sad. Then they had a memorial meeting in honor of Swamiji. Now, next event is Castle Kerner, this ice house. It had to be auctioned because Mr. Biligiri Iyengar died in 1906. So what to do now? Shashi Maharaj, where would he stay? So one devotee tried to buy the house, but a very rich landlord outbid him. So when the auction was going on, the disciples of Shashi Maharaj were very anxious. What will happen? Will we get this? It is such a do or die situation. But another wonderful example of detachment. Shashi Maharaj was sitting calmly. He is telling them, why do you worry? What do we care who buys or who sells? My wants are few. I only need a small room for the master. I can stay anywhere and spend my time in talking of him. So they could not get that building, and the Swami had to move out, and a temporary shelter was there in the same compound. So temporarily he was housed there. But by God's grace, he did not have to stay there long. Within 5 years of his arrival, he became well known throughout the city. And his work began to be appreciated. So now the devotees felt that a permanent house was absolutely necessary. So they raised money, and in 1906, a student of the Swami donated a piece of land in the Mylapore area of Chennai. So this is the old shrine, as it is called. But most probably this also was not there at the time of Shashi Maharaj. This was later, I'll tell you. So anyway, on one auspicious day in 1906, Shashi Maharaj conducted the religious ceremonies, and the building was slowly constructed, and the Swami dedicated it on 17 November 1907 and moved into this new ashram. So that building, I think, is no longer there, but this is what they call the old shrine now. The new shrine of Chennai is huge temple. It's a huge structure. This is the old shrine. So what is the history of that? The foundation stone was laid by none other than Swami Brahmananda. But after Shashi Maharaj had passed away, Shashi Maharaj passed away very young, 1911. So there you can see on that marble slab it is written, foundation laid on 4th August 1916, 5 years after Shashi Maharaj had gone, by Swami Brahmananda himself. So in 1906, now we will discuss how other disciples of the Master also came to southern India when Shashi Maharaj was there. In 1906, Swami Premananda came on a pilgrimage. Premananda, very, very great soul. And during that same year, Shashi Maharaj went to Colombo to receive Swami Abhedananda, another disciple of the Master. This is Swami Abhedananda. So Swamis, both the Swamis travelled to various places in Sri Lanka and South India, and Swami Abhedananda laid the foundation stone of the Bangalore ashrama there. Then, at Ramakrishnanandaji's fervent request, the great Swami Brahmanandaji, the president of the order, visited Madras in 1908. This is Swami Brahmananda. So, Shashi Maharaj vacated his own room, renovated it for the great soul. He moved out and he said, the Master and his son will stay inside. I will stay in the entrance hall and I will serve them. What more do I want? So after staying in the monastery for some days, then Ramakrishnananda and Brahmanandaji both went on a pilgrimage to South India. Many incidents occurred. I will just mention one. So they went to Rameshwaram, and on the way to Madras from Rameshwaram they stopped at Madurai to visit the famous Meenakshi temple. This is the Meenakshi temple. So here Swami Brahmananda had a wonderful vision. He saw that the living image of the mother Meenakshi was coming towards him. So he went into ecstasy, and Ramakrishnananda was there for 1 hour. He was supporting Brahmananda so he should not fall. So this is about the disciples of the Master who visited South India when Shashi Maharaj was there. Now we know that it was mainly due to Shashi Maharaj that the message of the Master spread far and wide. And then what happened? A very significant event. The Divine Mother herself, in 1911 February, Holy Mother herself came to Madras and stayed for a month in a 2-storied house that Shashi Maharaj had rented near the monastery. So this, as you know, is Holy Mother. And Shashi Maharaj also arranged for Mother's pilgrimage to Madurai and Rameshwaram and accompanied them. So this is the famous temple of Rameshwaram. Holy Mother said, Shashi procured for me 108 bay leaves made of gold to worship Shiva at Rameshwaram. After Rameshwaram, Holy Mother visited the Bangalore ashrama, and many incidents are there. We don't have time, so just one I will mention. One evening, Holy Mother and a couple of her companions climbed a small hillock behind the monastery. As soon as Shashi Maharaj heard that mother was climbed the hillock, immediately he rushed up. He said that, oh, mother has become Parvata Vasini. And immediately he went, Sashtang Pranam, and he chanted Sarva Mangala Mangalye. So that hillock is still there. I also had the good fortune to see it when I had gone to Bangalore. This is how it looks like today. This is called Holy Mother's Rock. You can see a small structure which has been built. So next, about Swami Ramakrishnananda's great scholarship. This is another photograph of his. He was a genius, absolutely powerful orator, delightful conversationalist, and a very excellent writer. He was such an erudite scholar that he could lecture and write in 3 languages: English, Bengali, and Sanskrit. He also picked up Tamil. He translated some teachings of the master into Sanskrit. While he was in Alam Bazar, he also wrote a beautiful Sanskrit hymn on Swami Vivekananda. Then all the worship mantras which we do here, when we worship in all the centers, same mantras, all those had been composed by Shashi Maharaj. Yeah. And he contributed many articles to the Udbodhan magazine. Then he wrote Ramanujacharit in Bengali. That is one of the best lives of Ramanuj written. It has been translated into English also. Life of Ramanuja, very, very detailed. I have read, I think I read the whole book at one time. It's really fantastic. Because I worked on the Hindi translation of that. Yeah. I did not translate, I just, one Swami Vidyatmanandji is a great scholar, he's still there, he had translated. And of course, there is now published the complete works of Swami Ramakrishnananda by Madras, 3 volumes. And his main works are God and Divine Incarnations, Message of Eternal Wisdom, Shri Krishna, Pastoral and Kingmaker, Message of Eternal Wisdom, that's what I've said, Thinkers on Education, Ancient Quest, Sri Ramakrishna and his Mission, and Search After Happiness. So from 1897 to 1911, Swami Ramakrishnananda travelled all over South India, preaching the Hindu religion and philosophy, and of course the message of the Master. Many things are to be told, we don't have time, so we now come to his last days. Yeah. So Shashi Maharaj's life was short but very eventful. For 14 years he worked hard to spread the message of the Master. Here you can see another of his photographs. This is a group photo, so some other monks are also there. Let me share this. Yes, in the center you can see Shashi Maharaj, and you can see that is in South India because all those tilaks are there which they put in South India. This is a very rare photograph. So he worked so hard that his body could not take it any longer. In April 1911, just after Holy Mother left, immediately Shashi Maharaj became very, very ill. And he was diagnosed with diabetes and tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, there was no cure at that time. He himself said that this body has worked so hard And problem was that he did not have good food, no. TB, one of the main reasons for that is undernourishment. So these people actually literally sacrificed their all. And Shashi Maharaj told that actually this is just because of overwork. And the great success he has achieved, but Shashi Maharaj said it is no credit of mine. The Master's grace and Swamiji's command are mainly responsible for the success of the work in South India. So at devotees' request, Shashi Maharaj moved to Bangalore for rest. But even that did not help. So the local doctors said that his disease is galloping TB, galloping tuberculosis. Nothing can be done. So Swamis Brahmananda and Sardananda asked him to come to Calcutta. Shashi Maharaj passed away in Calcutta. He left for Calcutta in June 1911 via Madras. On 10th June, he arrived in Calcutta. He was accommodated in the Udbodhan office where Holy Mother used to stay. At that time, Holy Mother was not there. He was placed under the treatment of very good doctors, but naturally that disease had no cure. But Ramakrishnananda's mind always dwelt on his Guru. So one day, one doctor asked him, in your dreams, do you see something like a crematorium or Tulsi grove? Shashi Maharaj said, no, I don't see these things, but I see the Master, Holy Mother and Swamiji and Dakshineshwar. His mind, there was nothing else, you see. So he had to suffer a lot because he had dry skin because of the excessive bile secretion in his system, and he suffered from burning sensation in his body. His attendants had to fan him constantly. But sometimes the pain would be so much that he would roll on his bed and pray, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. Yeah. His desire for food was almost gone. In the morning, he would just eat a few pieces of biscuit soaked in milk. At noon, just a few morsels of rice. He said, no, Divine Mother has taken away my liking for food. His condition rapidly worsened, and as you know, in TB, final stage, they begin to cough up blood. He could not sleep at night. His body was reduced to a skeleton. One day, he could not bear the pain, and he asked his attendant to bring down the photo of Sri Ramakrishna from the wall, and he talked to the Master. Why are you giving me so much pain? I have committed no wrong in my life. So, of course, that was between him and the Master. So, again, sometimes he would forget his suffering and begin to talk passionately about the Master. So, when the attendant would say, please take rest, he used to say, when I talk about Sri Ramakrishna, I lose body consciousness. And even the death pain becomes insignificant. So a wonderful incident. Shashi Maharaj expressed a desire to see Holy Mother last time before going. But Holy Mother was in Jairambati. So Swami Dhirananda was sent to bring her, but she could not come because most probably she could not bear to see Shashi Maharaj, her son, passing away. So then, even though she did not come, Shashi Maharaj remaining right there, he had her vision. So he said, oh, Mother has come. And on the morning of his last day, one Pulin Mitra, very famous singer and disciple of Swami Brahmananda, came to see Shashi Maharaj. So Shashi Maharaj told him about his vision. And he told Pulin, what I have told you, you go and tell to Girish and tell him to compose a song about this vision. Girish was a great genius. Immediately composed the song. It is, of course, we sing now also. So the first line is Pohalo Dukkho Rajoni, the night of misery is over. Pohalo Dukkho Rajoni. Like this it goes. Anyway, so immediately Girish composed the song and sent it. Pulin Mitra sang it before Swami Ramakrishnananda. So the first line of the song, long songs is, the night of misery is over. The terrible nightmare of the ego is gone forever. The illusion of life and death is no more. So Pulin sang this song for a long time and Shashi Maharaj listened to it. He must have been in a very high spiritual mood. And then he desired to hear another song, a song on Samadhi, which was composed by Swami Vivekananda. Pulin sang that song also. Then Shashi Maharaj drank a little of the Charnamrit, which had been offered to the master. And then for the last 3 hours of his life, he was in Samadhi. Then at 1 p.m. he suddenly began to perspire. His face flushed. And he left his body in Samadhi at 1:10 p.m. on Monday, 21st August 1911. Very young he died. I think he was just about 50. So he was decorated with flowers and garlands and was carried in procession. The Sankirtan party group of singers led the procession. It first stopped at Kashipur garden house where Sri Ramakrishna was there. Then it stopped at Kashipur cremation ground. Then at last it reached Belur Mutt. So in Belur Mutt there is a special place where all the disciples of the master they had their last rites. This is the place. So here also Swami Ramakrishnananda, Shashi Maharaj, on the banks of the Ganga. This is at the southeast corner of Vivekananda temple. He was cremated here. So, of course, those who have gone to Belur Mutt, they know. So here you can see the names of all the disciples. If you zoom, you can see the name of Ramakrishnananda also is here. With the date also it is there. So Holy Mother, when she heard about this passing, she was terribly grieved. She said, Shashi has gone. It is as if my back is broken. And Swami Brahmananda said, it is as if the guardian angel of the south has passed away. Now the South India, as it were, it is covered with darkness. Such a great soul has gone. So the Hindu community of Madras convened a memorial meeting and paid their homage to Shashi Maharaj, who had sacrificed his life for their spiritual development. Yeah, many things are there about him. Slowly we can, afterwards we can discuss some special aspects of his life. So let us stop here for today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.